Hello, all. Good evening, good afternoon, and good morning from whichever part of the globe you're watching us from. Welcome to yet another segment of Close the Toss. I'm your host, Sanskar, and with me, I have my fellow panelists. Uh, I have with me Aditya, I have with me Bidhu, and making a comeback after a really long time, I have with me Jayesh with us. So, well, what are we going to discuss today? I believe, as my background would have already suggested, we are going to discuss a, a championship which was under a lot of controversy for various reasons. First of all, questioning its authenticity of the tournament, then questioning uh, some undue advantage for certain team, and which ended up eventually winning, and also all of that panned out in between. So without further ado, let me just jump right in and discuss and throw in this question that how good do you think India was in this tournament? Did you feel that them playing in just one venue benefited them a lot, or did you feel that there was an even contest despite India being having that familiarity of venue?
I'd like to jump in and I'd like to say, I think even though we were just playing at one venue, India did not have a unfair advantage. I think I recently read something that Wasim Akram said in another podcast, I think, and he made a simply valid point. India has been on the back. We have just won the T20 World Cup, not lost a single game. Here also played every game and won every game convincingly. It's not like, I mean, even if someone makes a point that we had an undue advantage, if they were close games, I could have gotten it with the okay, maybe it's a close game, we won by 5 runs. There's a possibility, on a different pitch it will be different. But that being said, in this pitch there was nothing. There were barely any close games that India played. So keeping that in mind, and that we have already won convincingly the T20 World Cup without losing a game, and this entire tournament too without losing a game, it makes a simply compelling point. And the team even that we defeated in the finals, New Zealand, we have defeated them twice on the same venue. So of course they also have. It's not like they had zero idea of the venue. They played us on the same venue. We defeated them once and again here. So I think, yeah, we did not have an undue advantage that we might take on it.
Okay, let me start straight off the bat and disagree with Jayesh there. Um, definitely, India had an advantage. Is it the players' fault? Of course not. It's up to the organizers and the administration to tell them where to play and um, which venues to play. They really don't choose that. It definitely is an advantage. It's not just to do with the venue. There's also a lot of travel that comes along when you play in multiple venues and when you have back-to-back games which are a day or two apart, it really hampers your recovery. When you're playing at such an elite level, even if it's a 1 hour, 1.5 hour flight, I mean, we all have the experience of flying in Bangalore. The flight might be 1 hour, but getting to the airport, doing the check-in and disturbs your sleep cycle. With all of that, I think we were cozied up in one hotel room or particular hotel for the entire duration. So yeah, we did definitely have an advantage. But having said that, we had the team to press home the advantage. Like if you had taken any other random team and given them the same advantage, would they have convincingly won the Champions Trophy like this? With a hypothetical situation. But we had the team, and even if we had played in Pakistan, I think we had the team to perform there as well. Our batting lineup was pretty solid. I mean, Jadeja coming in at eight is, I think Asha or one of them was saying it's like taking Lamborghini out to buy your vegetables, right? So I think we had a pretty solid batting lineup. And as Jayesh pointed out, everybody knew the conditions. It is spin-friendly conditions. Nobody stopped other teams from playing spinners. It's just that they didn't have top quality spinners to play. Barring even New Zealand, if you looked at it, Santner was the only threat for us. Bracewell, yeah, he did bowl well in the finals, but I don't think he's in the league of, say, a Jadeja or an Aksar or Varun Chakravarti, who ironically shouldn't have even been in the tournament, but my books player of the maybe we'll get there. But yeah, we did have an advantage, but we also had the team to press home the advantage. So there's no point taking any credit away from the win.
Fair enough. I think I have nothing much to add because most of the points which Aditya said are something which I also think of. You make use of whatever conditions you are given. Sometimes you have due, sometimes you win the toss and you get a good pitch to bat on, but you also need to have the team and the players to be able to take advantage of that situation. So for us, did we choose to play in one ground? No, we did not have the choice to do that. We are given this scenario that you have to stay in a particular ground and play all your games. But as Aditya said, we do have all the arsenal to be able to play in Dubai and when play in uh, USA and when play in India and various grounds and when, as the last three ICC tournaments have shown. But yes, we made the best use of the advantage that we were provided.
And win the toss is something that Rohit Sharma has not done in a while. So maybe that nullified the advantage to a bit.
And
So
just to,
15 tosses in a row now, right?
yeah, 15 in a row.
Yeah, crazy.
And just to add on a bit to that, you know, if okay, yeah, there is certain amount of advantage when you don't have the jet lag or say your circadian rhythm getting disturbed due to late flights and stuff like that. Um, I felt that also if we really had such a huge undue advantage, I don't think our games we did win convincingly, but I think opponents also gave fight. I think barring the Pakistan game, no game was ever so one-sided for India. There were phases where opponents had a chance to convert those chances to their benefit. I can think of the Bangladesh match. If had KL Rahul not been caught, match could have gone either way. Pakistan game is an exception. I think Pakistan showed no fight whatsoever. New Zealand game again, I thought if Williamson had one other batting partner, things could have been different in that group stage game. Same goes for Australia game as well. If another couple of wickets would have fallen only, anyway, the game could have gone. So I felt, and also not forget the fact, even though they have two different ball formats, uh, India suffered a huge 3-0 loss against New Zealand, which were ideally spin friendly conditions, which were the same in Dubai. So, like, at least to the best of what I know, although we did play spin well, but we also came with a certain reputation and certain monkey in the back, thinking that we aren't that good of a spin batting team anymore, barring maybe with an exception of Shreyas Iyer. So I felt Dubai was as even as it could have gotten. Yes, it saved a lot of time for them traveling wise, but I felt that uh, we still saw good contest and India won fair and square. All right. I guess now that we've addressed the big burning question, we can now move on to the performances throughout the tournament. Yes, India was a great team, but I think we would be failing in our duties as a cricket fan if we don't acknowledge how good New Zealand were, especially with their fielding efforts. I have no I guess we have no prizes for guessing who we are talking about. Glenn Phillips, absolutely fire on field. But what else did you like about New Zealand's entire tournament, gentlemen?
Just before starting the episode, we were talking about your age, Jayesh and Sanskar. Have you seen Jonty Rhodes live? Or is Glenn Phillips the best fielder you've seen in just in terms of the sheer audacity of the catches that he's been taking?
I have seen clips of Jonty Rhodes for sure.
Not from the Masters League. What he's doing at 55 or whatever, he's still diving around the field even in the Masters League. But have you seen him live when during his peak?
No, I mean, see, I have of course seen the legendary runouts of Jonty Rhodes and his fielding efforts. You know, clips of those, of course, I've seen. I mean, live, of course, is not possible because time travel is not there right now. So live
You're
is not
not
possible.
content. Okay, fair enough.
We weren't born back then, Aditya.
Jesus, Bidhu, thank you. You're there for company. Yeah. Yeah. So it just takes me back because the brilliance is on the field. It just gives that, the one is fast bowling. It gives you that visceral feeling of, somebody comes in Shoaib Akhtar or Wasim Akram, Waka Yunus. Again, I'm talking about my generation here. And the second is fielding when somebody pulls off something unbelievable. So I think Glenn Phillips is sort of giving that for your generation on a regular basis, right? He's taken three stunners just in this tournament. And who can forget Virat Kohli's look after he took his catch? Usually Virat Kohli stares at the pitch after getting out. For a change, he was staring at Glenn Phillips. But yeah, New Zealand, I think, where even before the tournament started, we were all rooting, not rooting for, but we were all predicting an India New Zealand final. They were the team to beat besides India, and they lived up to the billing. For once, I think New Zealand was not a dark horse or underdog or, punched above their weight types. I think they performed as expected. And as you said in the final, if Shreyas Iyer catch had been taken when he gave the chance, and if KL Rahul had failed for once, we definitely have to talk about him. He's had like an amazing series. It could have gone either way. Even with just 20 runs needed and Hardik Pandya trying to, I don't know what he was trying to do at the end, just to keep the match interesting, I guess. Kuldeep Yadav was padded up and Shami Boy was still in his blues, in his jersey. So it was pretty close, the final. So I think New Zealand performed up to their billing. Rachin Ravindra and his love for ICC tournaments, 5 centuries in 13 innings is just amazing. So yeah, I think they were fun to watch. Not probably not for South Africa and Miller, but otherwise I think they were fun to watch and had pretty good games across the tournament.
Yeah, just continuing from where Aditya left. Yes, when you talk about the fielding effort, I think every generation which comes next obviously stands on the shoulders or gets inspired by the previous generation. So Glenn Phillips is the accumulation of whatever he would have seen of Jonty Rhodes or from his own country, Brendan McCullum, how he fields, even though he was a wicketkeeper. But what happened here is he used these fielding efforts actually resulted in wickets of batters who were already set or batters of very high pedigree, and that's why it got highlighted really well. But if you have seen Glenn Phillips in last 3 4 years in different parts of whether he is playing for New Zealand or whether he is turning up for IPL games, he does field really really well. Even to save just one run, he puts into 200%. And I think because of his slightly shorter height, what advantage he has is he is a very athletic kind of a fielder, where he mixes up athleticism with acrobatics, and when it results in such wonderful wickets, you obviously notice it much more than saving a boundary or saving a single run. But saying that, I think New Zealand, the thing that really caught my eye was you see the last three generation of New Zealand players. You saw when the likes of Stephen Fleming, Chris Keynes were retiring, there was likes of Ross Taylor, Brendan McCullum coming through. And when Ross Taylor's Brendan McCullum were slightly coming to the twilight of the career, Kane Williamson rose. And right now, with the twilight of Kane Williamson, even Trent Bolt has retired, we see a few more bright players in that team already establishing themselves. So the transition of New Zealand has always been smooth, unlike a few other teams, which like Sri Lanka, let's say, when after retirement of 3 4 players, great players, they completely hit a dip. So we do not see that with New Zealand. They're always their semi-final spots, and sometimes they push to reach the finals. Yes, the trophy has been eluding, but I think what consistency they have shown in the last 20 years, actually from 2000 onwards, I have seen cricket much more in an understandable fashion. They defeated us in 2000 knockouts, and right now also they are still a big contending team. So I really like that fact about them, that they managed to get players who perform to the best of their abilities and challenge the top team in whichever generation they are playing.
And talking about the fast bowling, I think Matt Henry didn't play the finals
Correct.
because of an injury. So that was a huge disadvantage for them because we just bossed the power play. And we all remember what happened in the 2019 semi-final with him playing.
Near tears when he came to the realization he'll not be able to deliver in the final. So that a part of you as a cricket fan does feel upset when you see those visuals. Jayesh, your thoughts on New Zealand's performance?
Oh, sorry, can you repeat? You said talking to me, right?
Yeah, I just want to know your thoughts
Okay,
on.
okay, okay, okay. There was a little bit of a video lag. I think I found this thing that New Zealand were performing kind of like a unit in the way that everyone was performing really equally. I mean, of course, there were standouts. There were two major standouts, like Sachin Ravindra and Matt Henry. Sachin Ravindra in batting, Matt Henry in bowling. But as a team, they were doing really well. I found this thing because, I mean, if you see their stats of the players, I think eight wickets have been taken up by Bracewell, 9 wickets by Santner, who was also the captain. Kane Williamson also was, knocked in there with runs. So they had an overall team effort. They had like 7 players delivering, and it was not just an over reliance on one or two key players. So I think that was something really good that I saw in with respect to New Zealand's players. And yeah, I do think I think for me the one interesting player that I was on an outlook for was Michel Santner, because I mean he was given the captain's duty, and then his role in the team has now evolved slightly. It's not the way I think it was 4 5 years ago. Of course, that comes up with the captain's duties and stuff. And he performed well. He performed really well. I think he took up like 8 or 9 wickets. He took up in overall in the tournament in 5 matches, which is good. And I mean, he wasn't called upon much for batting, but like yeah, he overall did pretty well. So I think for me, a very crucial player who did perform really good and probably got unnoticed was Michel Santner.
Very off the topic question, but if by any chance Hardik Pandya has another horrific season as a captain for Mumbai Indians, maybe Mitchell Santner filling the shoes for Mumbai Indians as a captain.
Let's not get there yet, Sansar.
You see, I have those questions a lot in mind, but I'm avoiding IPL.
You're still wearing your blue. You're still wearing your Indian blues here. So let's stick with country for now, and we'll all be divided soon. So
No, not exactly. I answer that in a single line. Simply like the team of Mumbai Indians has way too many captains, so I don't even think Vishal Santa would come up in the top 5 list. Sadly,
Sanskar, in hindsight, do you think New Zealand should have fielded first, given how we were tentative in the 2023 World Cup final, and we didn't really play brave cricket. And down a target.
I honestly believe that wouldn't have mattered so much because, you know, if I were to take 2023's analogy itself, that pitch was genuinely slow because in the second innings we had dew and pitch had become much easier to bat on. Australia used that to the full utilization. So here, unlike here where there was no dew, it was well February, March. Dubai doesn't see a lot of dew supposedly, and India had like relative experience of both batting first and chasing as well. So I think they were well prepped and they were looking forward to whatever could have happened. I think I really felt that in this particular scenario, in this particular tournament pertaining to the games in Dubai, toss was inconsequential.
Fair enough. And talking about the 23 game question for all of you, does this really make up for November 19th?
I don't think so. Honestly, I mean, I always consider ODI World Cup as like a really really big thing, and all these other trophies you can have Test Championship, T20 World Cup, all these other they are important. They are good to have, but let's be honest. India did win a T20 World Cup in 2007. Dhoni didn't become the household name because of that. Great guy, played really good. He got the highest bid in IPL and all that stuff. But 2011 World Cup, that's one thing in people's memories. 1983, then 2011. That's the team and everything. People know everything about that. So I think it does not make up for it. Maybe 2027 might, but not this.
I second Jayesh's thoughts as well. Yes, like of course. Ch- Here there are two aspects, all right. Yeah, sure. You beat Australia in a big game. Kudos, well done. Even though Australia was not playing to their full potential because half their squad members were missing from the original setup. Arguably, even we did not have the likes of Bumrah. So I think even Stevens there. But I still feel, but again, it goes on to ask where would you rate a Champions Trophy victory over a World Cup victory? I'm sure all of us would choose that elusive 50 over World Cup victory over any day, over the Champions Trophy any day. Which brings me to another question, gentlemen. Do you feel with the additions of so many championships, so many ICC events that happen almost every year, do you think the novelty of these World Cups in itself are getting compromised day by day?
I think I would answer to that. I fully agree to that. The value of a championship gets reduced with respect to its frequency. The ODI World Cup happens every 4 years. It has its own importance. There have been only a select few number of winners. Example now T20 World Cup. I mean, when the first World Cup happened, we were. I mean, at least I mean, I was really young, of course, but at that time I was just thinking, okay, this is also maybe equivalent to a ODI World Cup. But then I noticed it's happening every second year. So the value of that World Cup gets reduced. I mean, okay, West Indies won two T20 World Cups. There's not much news about it. The players are not getting that much fame. They won two ODI World Cups that anyone who was watching, I mean, leave watching, people of current generation also, they know this thing. They won the two ODI World Cups. So I think, of course, supply and demand. You have more supply of the events. I mean, you can have a Champions Trophy happening every second year, and then of course its value will get reduced. That being said, that makes me think about one crucial thing. When I was researching about Champions Trophy, I found this very interesting thing. The Champions Trophy's initial goal was to hold these tournaments in places where probably cricket is not that big of a deal, to boost cricket in other places. That being said, I mean, in the recent years, I don't think so. It's been done in those places. I mean, Pakistan in general, they of course they're mad for cricket. Dubai again, it's we have played several games over there. It's not like Dubai or UAE or even Saudi Arabia. They're not known to cricket. So I think we can have more and more events, T20 World Cups and also on, but they should always happen in a place that can boost cricket. Like example, T20 World Cup happened in US. Yeah, that's very good. Boost cricket there. Similarly, you want to hold a Champions Trophy? I don't know. Maybe not right now. Maybe 5 years into the future, but hold it somewhere in South America. Like that will really boost cricket. Who knows? We maybe 10 years down the line, we have a proper good Argentinian team. So I think that should be the focus with all these more and more ICC events that are happening.
For me, I think as a spectator, I did feel about that. About every year we have a certain World Cup coming up. But because I watch multiple sports, I feel the newer generation of viewers, they might have a different perspective towards it. Like for example, we lost the 50 over World Cup. We won the T20 World Cup. We also missed out on WTC, the World Test Championship, but we won the Champions Trophy. So maybe in couple of years' time, we some teams will start aiming for the quartet. Like, can that generation of player win all four? And that would be the aim for that particular generation. And as a viewers also, we will be mostly hoping that okay, let's try and win all four of them. So that can be one way of looking at it. But again, that totally hinges upon the fact that how many of this format will be they will exist, but how many of these will attract all the audience to the ground and the viewership. So in that way, I feel there is chance for every format to have a different championship. But India is a strange case because they have three teams for different formats almost. I think going forward they will actually have three teams, three coaches, and three different teams. So for India, I think we will have viewers for every format. But as long as teams like England, they have a single team, they have a single way of playing, and they play across all formats in the same fashion, and that's why they do decently well in test, but they think that the same thing will happen in one day, and they are totally non-competitive in one day format. So that little bit takes away the competitiveness of certain tournaments. Coming into this championship, we knew that there are two teams which are threatening, South Africa and New Zealand. Australia a little bit less because all of the bowling were not coming to the tournament. So as long as this is happening, so we will have a little bit of questions about the tournaments. But yeah, if every team looks to win all the championships and sends the best team, then all the World Cups will be equally competitive.
All right. Um, right. So I guess long story short, not just adding addition of tournaments, but also making them competitive is where the bottom line is, which I totally agree with. Maybe this was one of those tournaments which unfortunately did not have a lot of competition. But having said that, which game, maybe barring the final, was the highlight for you in this particular tournament for all of you?
I think the Australia-England game was one. It happened in Pakistan, and everybody had sort of written off Australia after England posted a seriously daunting total, and all said it's. I mean, 350. It's becoming more commonplace for teams to chase down big targets these days. But to do that in an ICC tournament crunch game with none of the top stars, so to say, performing, Josh English's innings along with Carey and Australia winning it, I think that was the game for me.
For me, it has to be England versus Afghanistan. I mean, what better spectacle than an underdog winning a game against all odds? A part of me did feel bad for Root. Played a splendid knock, in my opinion, but um I think deep down, I guess most of us were rooting for an Afghanistan win. More so because we put our money on Afghanistan to make it to the semis in our initial show, in our initial prediction as well. So that has to be the game for me. Bidhu and Jayesh.
I would actually agree with you on that point. Even for me, it was Afghanistan versus England. I mean, that was one of the matches I was just really pushing. I mean, like you, I also support the underdog, and I think it was Zadran or someone I think who got 177 runs. So, even at one point was thinking that maybe 200 runs might be a possibility even. So for him, so yeah, that was one match which was just spectacular and was special to see them winning so convincingly and nicely against England. And him scoring 177 runs, I think that was just really special, a special moment in IC tournament.
Yeah, for me, I was looking forward to all these games, especially Afghanistan, Australia, and New Zealand, South Africa. But while watching, I could figure out who is going to win, simply because I always knew that England bowling is not going to do well in this tournament. So every time England score big, I always expect the other team to score one run extra. And South Africa, New Zealand, I always thought it would be very, very competitive because South Africa is having the team to get one trophy at least, but they didn't turn up in that match in that evening. So all the games which India played, I was very keen to see how Rohit Sharma is marshalling the troops because we always think India missed out on Bumrah, but what I was fascinated was both captain and coach. They thought, okay, if Bumrah is not there, let's not try to get a pacer and tell him to do the best as possible and get close to Bumrah's way of bowling. They totally flipped it. They went to a spinner. They had Hardik Pandya to get 1 or 2 overs in the front and made themselves a spin-friendly side. You saw Varun Chakravarti very early in New Zealand game, but you saw Kuldeep Yadav very early in Australia game. So I was really fascinated by the way India was playing all through the tournament.
All right. Gentlemen, I have three more questions, but in interest of time, we'll keep our answers a little brief. Without further thinking, maybe just keep it as crisp and concise as possible. And this question is for all. Your three takeaways or three players you think you can watch out for in the future. It could be from any team from this particular tournament.
The prospect of Varun Chakravarti and Bumrah bowling in tandem in any white ball scenario for us is quite a lip-smacking prospect for me. And it's just coincidence that it happened that way, because had Bumrah played, Varun would not have played. But now we have like two guns, in our bowling setup. So that's quite exciting for me.
Uh,
And are there any more?
No, we'll go around the room. I'll
So about the players, I would simply say we said three takeaways. So I was like, I'll keep it two different players. Both will be from the winning team. So of course, Varun Chakravarti, as pointed out by Aditya, like he was not even initially scheduled to play, and I think right now, based on his performance and even his past performances, he would probably be the. One can argue he's the best spinner in India at the moment. So I think in limited balls cricket. So yeah, I mean Varun Chakravarti, Shreyas Iyer would be second the player in my mind. He nailed down that number 4 position. So I think that was one interesting thing. And the third key takeaway was I think the disappointments of the tournament for me, which were two teams, Pakistan and England. I mean, no one expected these teams to really win the tournament, but many people were touting that these teams may make it to semi-finals or will at least register one win. But for both these teams, Pakistan and England, not to even get to a single win, I think that was a key takeaway that they need to really focus and do a lot of work in their limited overs format.
For me, it would be Sachin Ravindra from New Zealand. I think he is going to be the main player from New Zealand and also start a new Fab Four, Fab Five across the world. And from India, I would like to see how Subman Gill goes from here, because see, there are a lot of youngsters coming through, but so far Subman Gill has performed well enough to hold his place in the one day side and maybe some prospect of leading the one day side. But his position in T20 and Test cricket are always questionable. So he had limited success in this tournament as well. He was giving the starts which India needed. So how much he can build upon this and cement his place as an all format cricketer is something I aspire to look. One more thing, I think I was really rooting for Jadeja to start becoming India's number 4 after Yuvraj and Raina were not there. Number 4, number 5, which I think eventually Akshay Patel took on. Because I always believed number 4 and number 5, if it's a left-hander and also bowls, it's a very, very added advantage to the team, which was vacant for a long time after Yuvraj and Raina. So let's see how much more Akshay Patel can contribute and how much more the team can put faith in Akshay Patel in the next leading up to the next 50 over World Cup. So I feel Akshay Patel with his new role is a big advantage for the team.
Some really interesting points there, some really interesting takeaways, which I wholeheartedly agree with, majority of them. Uh, I would want to touch upon England and Pakistan, like Jayesh had mentioned. I felt they were rather disappointing in this tournament. I want to see how Pakistan and England proceed from here. Pakistan is making some wholesale changes, which they've been doing it for quite a few years now. Uh, what I see from Pakistan's perspective, which I think we also discussed, Aditya and Bidhu, in our previous episode, was that Pakistan chopping and changing a lot, not showing enough consistency in their decision making. Sometimes it's within their players, sometimes it's within their support staff, sometimes it goes beyond that. It's your cricket board, which has a lot of internal politics. So Pakistan cricket really needs one huge microscope like perspective as to where are they going wrong perennially for them to land up this way. Uh, as much as we love Indian cricket, as much as we love cricket in general, you crave for more competition, which Pakistan used to promise, say about a decade ago at least. But now that firepower just seems missing. As for England, I think they've gone to the pre Ian Morgan era of just not showing enough uh, ability. I mean, fastball has rather just become something very gimmicky and meme-worthy, so to speak, if I were to speak in a very Gen Z slang. Um, yeah, I think their cricket doesn't have a lot of cricketing sense, so to speak. Uh, I think if they can develop that patient game, if they can play some sensible, mature cricket, their half job done would be right there. Having said that, I think they also need some serious look into their pace bowling with Mark Wood blowing hot and gold, with Archer as well, just coming back from a huge injury. He's also looked very tentative. So I want to see how these two teams proceed. Barring that, I think most of it is pretty much covered. Like you said, Bidhu, Rachin Ravindra, and Gill. I want to see how they proceed. How what I would also like to see is, and which was also gonna be my segue into the next question is, what do you envision for Rohit and Virat? I know Rohit was rather very openly candid in his in the way that he is, saying we are nowhere close to retirement. But should BCCI entertain the thought of transition? Should these two individuals themselves entertain the thought of transition? Where do you see India's white ball post the Champions Trophy victory?
So I think about that. Firstly, I think they have made up their mind, both of them maybe, that they will give one more try in 2027 World Cup. And I mean, of course, also we have to keep in mind. I think there's this. I think the Olympics happening, right? 2028 Olympics, if I'm right. I'm not sure about Rohit for that, but maybe Virat Kohli has that in mind that he would want to retire at the Olympics by winning a gold medal. I think Steve Smith has that same thought. So they might have these thinkings. That being said, I don't think BCI needs to do much because we actually have a really healthy pool of applicants ready to take up the spots. I mean, if you want to think about who was gonna open instead of Rohit, you have Shubman Gill, Yashasvi Jaiswal, you have KL Rahul, and you go through the IPL performers. There's a big bunch of people who can take up those spots. I mean, of course, it will be tough, but that being said, as long as these two are performing for the next 2 years, shouldn't India shouldn't be facing any issues. I mean, issues would come up. Let's say in the next 6 months or 1 year, Rohit and Virat both performed awfully. Then it would be a thing that they shouldn't be making the 2027 World Cup squad. That's a fair thought to have. But that's a thought for another time. For now, they're performing well. I do think we have a healthy set of applicants for those positions.
I think God is agreeing with Jayesh there with the bell sign. But yeah, I pretty much reflect on what Jayesh is saying. As long as they are performing, and I don't think they have ever been out of form in white ball cricket. Kohli and Rohit both have been performing in white ball cricket. Sometimes their form in red ball sort of tends to color our image about their white ball game also. So as long as they're performing, I don't see any reason why we'll have to take any calls for them.
For me also, see Virat Kohli, he will never be out of the team because of his fielding, because he is as fit as he was when he was 25. Batting wise, this tournament showed that around Virat Kohli, there are players who are going to perform, and if Virat Kohli performs 1 in 4, 1 in 3, he performs to a degree where team wins. So in that respect, we do not also need Virat Kohli to perform every single match, because players around him have grown in stature and to take up the responsibility. So he fits in well. Rohit Sharma, I see this victory has actually made me a little bit biased for him to stay for 2 more years. But if we are thinking of a transition, I think 2 years is a good enough time to take a call. And whoever is the next captain, I don't think Virat Kohli is going to take up the captaincy. If Bumrah is going to captain, or you're putting a trust on Shubman Gill, I think he needs at least 1.5 years time to, because the next World Cup is not in India, it's a foreign condition. He has to take calls. There will be a lot of seniors in the team, so the transition has to happen soon. Which and because of that reason, I think Rohit Sharma is not going anywhere. Uh, because the next incumbent is going to need at least 1 year to make a team of his own choice.
Yeah, just like to pitch in, Bidhu, never take out Hardik Pandya from the mix. Anything can make anything happen. He can also be the captain.
Yeah, I don't take Hardik Pandya. The only person that takes Hardik Pandya is injury. Nobody takes. If he is fit, he can play anytime for India. You can see the impact that he had. He made sure India can play as many bowlers as possible. He made sure India can KL Rahul can bat as slow as possible. He is there at the end to take charge. Just because you pitched, I think Olympics is for T20 and Rohit and Kohli have retired from T20, and that's the reason why Steve Smith has not retired from T20 and retired from one day. So I think even if it is Olympics is there, I think Rohit and Kohli are beyond the Olympics now.
Are we completely ruling out Shreyas Iyer as a captaincy candidate?
Who's the vice captain right now? Gill.
Yes, Subman
Gill.
Gill.
If he's the vice captain, he
And
becomes the next captain. Isn't that the logical step to take? I'm
uh,
not ruling out Shreyas Iyer, but if Gill is the understudy and Rohit is still performing, and so clearly BCCA is sort of grooming Gill to become the next white ball captain.
uh, two aspects with that, two caveats rather. India has had the history of packing multiple vice captains and not giving them anything, let alone like keeping them at the vice captaincy again.
No,
Uh,
to sort of disagree there,
Bug.
like Reina was vice captain for Dhoni, but Dhoni was always around. So there was never a transition in place there. When
yeah,
Kohli was vice captain to Dhoni, there was a transition in place, and they planned it out in a manner where Kohli did take it up from Dhoni. So there might have been vice captains who never made it to captaincy.
as well. There's a lot of musical chairs with that as well. You had Reina for a brief while, you had Gautam Gambhir himself for a brief while, you had Virat Kohli, and I think between these periods, you also had Yuvraj Singh for a few games. And then with Virat Kohli, you had, I guess, okay, with at least with respect to white ball, we knew if Virat is going to step down, you have Rohit Sharma ready. My point I'm trying to say here is India has never really gone with vice captain being the next heir apparent always. Second, this is my
No, but to
personal.
your point there, has Gill really been circled around as much? I think he's always been the vice captain, right? Like how Virat Kohli was the vice captain once he became the vice captain.
Uh,
And he
yeah,
performing in IPL, he's shown he has the acumen to pick it up in if and when Rohit decides to hang it up. So again,
Yeah,
I'm not ruling Shreyas
no, the
Iyer.
point, Aditya, that you're making is completely correct. When you see a captain, vice captain from different generations, the person is being groomed. Dhoni and Kohli were from different generations. Kohli was actually being groomed. You saw the era of Saurav and Dravid. Dravid was the vice captain not because he was supposed to be the captain, it's because he was a very good vice captain to a captain. Sometimes the captain needs a vice captain. So whenever he is injured or whenever he is not feeling well, the same team can be led by the different person, but in the same fashion. So here, Gale is actually being vice captain because he has the potential to lead. With Shreyas Iyer, I think he will be the first captain if he becomes a captain to not have a number four issue. Every other captain has a number four issue.
um, and which is where I slightly disagree. I still feel that Shubman Gill, at least in my opinion, is still not ready to take up the reins. Uh, I still see a little bit of that individual contributor vibes in him. He does play for the team. I'm not saying he doesn't play for the team at all. But I still feel he has a bit of, uh, you know, he has a bit of a point to prove as a player at first. And maybe once he's like a runaway match winner for like 1 or 2 seasons straight, that's when I can invest my confidence in him as a captain. Shreyas Iyer, on the other hand, has experience, has proved to be a match winner, and has proved to also be a reliable captain for almost a year now, right from IPL to the domestic circuit. Uh, and I guess his performance has commanded respect of every team member in the dressing room. So, which is why I would be more bullish towards Shreyas Iyer to be the captain as compared to Gill. No, nothing to take away from Gill. He's an impeccable white ball player. I have full confidence he'll grow in stature in the future, but I think he has a little more grooming to do to get to that level.
Fair point, Sanskar. So, in the interest of time, I think as Rohit said, "मैं कहीं नहीं जाने वाला हूँ." He's there. So for now, we'll back Captain Rohit. So as and when it gets closer to his I don't know what is closer to his retirement now. So as and when it gets there, we'll. But yeah, valid points. Gill does have some way to go, but I think that's where the grooming will sort of come in and help. We'll see.
I think just like to say, like as you said, there's too much time left. I think this next 1.5 years, I think Rohit and Virat are not going anywhere, mostly. So for the next 1.5 years, we will see how everyone performs. I mean, Gill will be, of course, captaining an IPL side. Bumrah will be captaining the Test side. Similarly, you have Rishabh Pant, Hardik Pandya, and all other different Shreyas Iyer. They will be captaining different IPL sides too. So whoever does well, I mean, in the next 2 years, for all you know, Shreyas Iyer wins 2 IPL titles. Leave Shreyas Iyer. Rishabh Pant, let's say he wins 2 IPL titles, he gets into great form. Who knows? He's the next ODI captain. Possible. So we have a long way to go. Let's see how things happen in the next 1.5, 2 years time. In that much time, 2 IPLs will happen, and they will have a great impact. And I personally feel there's a very high chance Bumrah can become the next ODI captain too, given how good he performs in the Test cricket. If he is fit and he performs good in Test cricket as captain, then yeah, I do see a world where he could become the ODI captain too.
Fair points from everyone. I think with that, we have conveniently come to an end to this particular segment. Lots of highs, lots of lows, lots of takeaways. Ultimately, we are happy. Our home team, India, ended up winning against all odds and clearly were the best team in this tournament. Um, uh, and stay tuned with us because our favorite tournament, IPL, is around the corner and we have a lot to talk about over the course of next 2 months. Until then, thanks for your time, gentlemen. Thank you, Aditya, Bidhu, and Jayesh, for your valuable time. Thank you for your insights. Until then, see you all in the next video. Goodbye.